Food is not just fuel, it's information for your body. What you eat shapes your energy, your mood, and even your thoughts. Most of us are consuming ultra-processed foods without even questioning it. We're detached from what real food even tastes like. People don't realize that what's on grocery store shelves isn't always real food. It's food-like products designed to last, not to nourish.
So how do we shift?
Start simple. Whole, fresh foods. Eat the rainbow. The moment you tune into how your food makes you feel, your body starts guiding you to better choices. I changed my diet 17 years ago, and it transformed my energy, my awareness, and even my relationship with myself. When you eat clean, you feel clean.
What is one thing people should take away from this?
Love your body enough to nourish it, not from a place of restriction, but from a place of care.
Welcome, Karlan. Really appreciate you being here. Excited for our conversation. Why don't you give listeners a little background of who you are, what you do in the world? What's your superpower?
Thank you for having me.
Yours?
My superpower.
My favorite question, as you know.
I know.
Yeah.
But you always tell me that my superpower is brightening up a room with my smile. That's what you've told me before.
Yes.
I've heard it from
That's right.
people.
Exactly.
Which is different than what I do.
Okay.
So I'm a raw vegan chef, and I make delicious and healthy desserts and meals for people.
Mm-hmm.
That's my business.
Amazing. Yeah. So give me a little background story. How did you start? How did you end up doing this work? I mean, it's a fairly unique, I guess, position. I would imagine there are only like less than 1% of people who are probably like 0.1% who are doing this, right?
Yeah.
How did you end up doing this?
I started in 2008 by changing my own diet. And this came through my mother. My mother healed herself from depression through changing her diet. She decided to go raw vegan, and then she shared it with me, and I fell in love with it. And at the time, I had no idea what was happening, and I just decided to experiment for a week. My intention was just to lose some weight. And obviously, when you take away processed foods and gluten and dairy and a lot of, crappy foods, you feel amazing.
Yeah.
So I experienced so much energy, and I felt amazing. And I fell in love with it, with the creative aspect of creating meals from fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds. So I started doing more and more, and that week turned into, 17 years.
Yeah.
And it became a business because people who were around me were just asking for food. They would find out about it. Some people knew what it was, and they wanted to do a cleanse, or other people just tried some items that I made and they wanted to buy it. And eventually it became a business.
For sure. How did that also help you change your lifestyle? So it sounds like, they're two separate, I mean, they're not two separate things, but you talk quite a bit about how starting raw vegan diet, you've also shifted a lot of things about your life, expanded your awareness around other things. So tell me more about that.
I feel like it really opened it opened my eyes to so many things in life, At around the same time that I changed my diet, I started reading a lot of books on it, talking about toxins. So I became more aware of the products that I was using on my body. I stopped using chemicals, like lotions and different shampoos, whatnot, things to clean my house. I just became more aware about all those things. I also started yoga.
Because of that, you think?
I don't know if it was because of that, but it was around the same time I started doing yoga and just being present and breathing and just being with my body. Definitely changing my diet made me more aware of my body. Just paying attention to things that were in agreement, not in agreement, and what I liked, what I didn't like. And you can't help but pay attention to the environment and the impact that we're making in our environment. At the time, I remember that I was living with my mom, and we were both eating mostly a raw vegan diet. And we were buying things in bulk and just paying attention to the amount of trash that we were not producing. We were composting, so most of our trash was compostable. It's just, I don't know, it just raised awareness on other things for me. And obviously, the animals, that was not the main reason, but a lot of people who go vegan for the animals.
Yeah.
But paying attention to that too and being more compassionate and realizing that I never really liked eating meat much, even as a child, and that I don't think I would have the capacity to kill an animal to eat. Maybe in extreme conditions, but in a normal day-to-day life, that's not something that I desire to do.
Yeah, let's talk about like the future of food for humans. Do you see more and more humans shifting away from killing animals and eating like meat from animal meat? Or do you think there will always be just a subset of people who decide to go that route and the majority will still consume animal meat?
Well, nowadays there are people growing meat in labs.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about that.
Okay. Tell me more.
Just from a more natural perspective, and I understand science has come so far and we can do wonders, but I question if we're trying to play God too much. And we don't know what's going to come out of it in the short term. It will take years for us to know how that's going to impact us.
Yeah, I guess the only way to find out is to actually do it. You know what I mean? What if on the other side we recognize, oh, it's actually maybe even better for us because from what I know, like limited knowledge that I know, when the animal is killed, the fear and all of the emotional is getting trapped in the meat itself. And then when we consume it, some of that, we consume that as well. So lab grown meat, I would suspect that it doesn't have any of that. So maybe that's a big benefit of eating and everything. If everything else is the same without the emotional component, that's already to me sound like a better solution,
For sure. I agree. And also the way that we're treating animals nowadays, like it's crazy to me. It's different. In my opinion, it's different if you're eating a happy cow that you raised yourself and treated well. But it's the meat industry is so nasty, and the hormones and antibiotics and the way we treat them, we are consuming that. And it's really impacting our microbiome, and I don't like to think about that because I agree, we're eating that fear and all that energy. So maybe it could be better for us. I don't know. I think time will tell.
And being on raw vegan diet, I think a lot of people maybe can argue that you're not getting all of the right nutrients that you would have gotten from. What would you say to that? From meat? What would you say to those people?
So I took, just to clarify, I'm no longer strictly raw vegan.
Okay.
I did that for about 6 years, which is a long time still. And I think the reason why I shifted was I found myself really stressed out about it because it's not easy to do it on your own. It's not like the world is promoting that. I had to do everything, which is fine because I was in control of my food and I like that.
Right.
But I think being stressed out about the way that I was eating was just undoing all the benefits of the diet. So that's the reason why at one point I decided to just peel my label and say, whatever, I'm just going to eat whatever. And I still find myself eating mostly a raw vegan diet. I still consume a lot of cooked foods, but very healthy, very clean. I don't do a lot of junk food on occasion, but anyway, so raw vegan diet, I think, so I went through a year-long nutrition program, and my teachers are doctors who have been eating mostly a raw vegan diet for almost 4 years. And it's incredible to see the research that they do and how they present the program, and that you can actually get everything that you need from a raw vegan diet.
Yeah.
And they run blood work on themselves regularly, and they eat very clean. Lots of fruits, lots of greens, lots of juicing. So it's interesting that you can't do that,
What are the main ingredients or main foods that you should be eating when you're on vegan diet?
Leafy greens.
The greens.
They're a nutrition powerhouse. So lots of leafy greens. Vegetables, variety of vegetables. Like eat the rainbow. We hear that all the time. And when we eat the rainbow, we are getting different nutrients because different colors are going to present you with different nutrients.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the main things. And then you can add.
What about like protein and everything? Like, how do you get all of that?
So everything has protein because it's amino acids. And there's a lot of debate about protein. And I think perhaps everybody's different and we should listen to our bodies and see what works for us. Some people prefer a high protein diet, others don't. I think it's important to play with your own body and see, but everything has amino acids. And if you're eating a variety of plants, and if you're eating enough calories for your own body needs, you're going to be getting enough protein.
Yeah.
If you want higher protein, then you can tweak your diet according to that.
If you had like a magic wand to change how people approach their food and health, what would you change for the future?
It worries me the amount of ultra-processed foods that we consume.
Yeah.
And I understand we're busy. We don't want to, not everybody wants to be cooking all the time, or we don't have the time for it, or we just don't like to do it. And if you go out and you buy food, the majority of food just, sitting on the shelves, real food is not made to last so long on a shelf. And all the crazy coloring that we have, all the extras, there are ingredients that are not real food. They're food-like products.
Right.
So that's what scares me. And there's a lot of people that don't know. We are just not taught. And I'm very grateful that my mom is a nutritionist and I grew up not being able to eat those foods. So for me, it was always just common sense. That was the norm. Yeah. I couldn't drink soda ever. I could drink milk. I grew up drinking a lot of milk.
But that wasn't American milk, though.
No, it was in Brazil. Yeah, the moment I moved to America, I stopped drinking milk because I did not like the taste. Same with meat. I stopped eating meat because I didn't like the taste of it here. So America made it easier for me to go raw vegan.
Yeah. So in the past, we've had kind of debates around food being prepared by a human and food being prepared by like a robot. So where do you, for the listeners, for them to understand, where do you stand on that? And then we can explore why you think that way.
I have mixed feelings.
Okay.
I think we put love into the things that we are doing.
Okay.
And, when you're eating, food made with love tastes different.
Okay.
So, but then there's the other side that we are evolving and we are growing and we can't resist evolution. So
in your mind, when you're like you said, oh, this food has love in it and the other one doesn't, at what point do you put love into it, and can you put love into it all at once at the end of it, or does it have to be like a throughout the how does that work? You know what I mean? Like, can you can you have the robot make it and then you infuse some love into it and ship it?
Yeah. I'm sure you could.
Yeah. And then
pray over the food.
Yeah, and then can you do that to a large order all at once instead of like doing one at a time? You have the robot do it all.
I think love can reach large space.
Yeah,
No, for sure. We have machines that produce nowadays, so it's not like it doesn't happen. I think it's just.
What kind of future do you see for us in terms of cooking? Do you think less humans are going to be cooking, or about the same? Do you think there will always be a subset of humans who are doing some cooking?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
It's just now we can use AI to write things, but I'm sure people who are writers will still write because they like to write. They might use it to help. So I think perhaps the same. Just I use machines to help me chop stuff.
Right.
I use a blender. I use a food processor. Maybe I'll be using robots to help me chop stuff. I don't know. I don't know what I see. I feel like it's changing so rapidly. It's hard to.
Of course, yeah.
to know what's going to happen. There's
Yeah.
both. I have mixed feelings because I think we need to go somewhat back to nature, and we're getting more far away from it.
Mm-hmm. And going back to nature means you have to do more cooking?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Right.
I guess when I think about our food industry and how we're always focused on profits and doing more and making more,
Yeah.
I think that's what I think about, you know? I think we should be going back and growing our own gardens and eating our homegrown food. I see value in that.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
doesn't mean that we need to be cooking the food. We
Yeah.
have a garden and have
Right.
a robot cooking it.
Right. Yeah, I see a version of the future in which, yes, we do live right next to where the food is being grown, and the whole prepping and cooking of it is automated, and we always get the freshest possible ingredients just because we're living right near the farm, and the farm might look very different than what the regular farm does look like. Like, I don't think there is limitation on, oh, you only have to grow it in soil in the old way of doing things. And you can argue that the vertical farming, like people say, maybe it's not as good, nutritious, or it's not a natural way of growing food. I think humans will figure out a way how to grow food in constraints of space and still get all of their nutrients and everything they need to have a healthy vessel, healthy body. And I think it is maybe us preparing to be like a multiplanetary species in a way. Like imagine you have to fly on the spaceship for, I don't know, number of years, and you still want to keep the health high, and you learn how to create like a farm on spaceship or something like that, or we go colonize. That's not going to be me, but somebody goes colonizes some other planet, and there's no, like Mars, for example. They would definitely need to grow like some way that's more efficient in all of those things. So not to say those things are better, but I see that we're doing them because we're being pushed to, like evolution is pushing us to do those things in a way.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, that could happen. But again, I think we will only know for sure in the long run.
Yeah, exactly.
We
By doing a lot of like, with everything, it's like, especially with technology, I see us being like little babies who are just born, and they're exploring the world. They don't know much about the world. They're like tasting the rock, and they're tasting something that's they shouldn't be putting in their mouth, and they're falling, and they're crying, and they're cutting themselves. And I think that's what we're doing with all of the new stuff that comes out that we don't really know what to make out of it. And the only way we learn how to do is by using it and making a bunch of mistakes and see what works, what doesn't, and then hopefully staying alive in that whole process and not killing ourselves. Same with babies, babies could probably, if there's no like an oversight, I'm sure baby can just like fall somewhere.
For sure. But that's where we are, right? There's nobody overseeing us, technically.
Well, there is. I think there is a spirit that's overseeing whatever is happening in this 3D dimension, and you just gotta have an open heart to hear where the guardrails are of what's possible, what we should do. I have a list of like common myths that I'd like to hear your opinion on and your take on those myths around raw vegan eating and stuff. Yeah. So
see if I pass your test.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So myth number 1: raw vegan diets are always deficient in protein, iron, and B12 in others. True or false, and why? I think we touched on that a little bit.
B12 we need to supplement.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of meat eaters are also can be deficient. Also, the quality of our soil is not the same nowadays. So there are some things that we should be keeping an eye on, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like maybe we need to supplement, maybe we don't. It depends also on absorption.
Yeah.
I do supplement B12. And I've always heard that we are recommended to supplement B12. I have supplemented iron in the past, here and there. I've done it. If you eat enough leafy greens, a lot of people claim also spirulina, chlorella. You don't necessarily need to supplement iron.
Okay.
Eating them with vitamin C also enhances absorption.
What other things are you supplementing with yourself with?
Right now, I just supplement B12.
Okay.
Yeah, I take a probiotic here and there. That's about it.
Okay. Cool. All right. Moving on. Raw food is always cold and unappetizing. How do you create warmth and comfort with raw cuisine?
I don't think it's unappetizing, but the temperature, it can be warm.
Yeah.
Technically, the highest temperature that you go with raw foods is 115 Fahrenheit. So it's lukewarm. It's warm. You can eat room temperature food. You can definitely warm things up. For example, I can create soups in my blender and blend it on high speed and it will warm up. You've had my food, so I don't know if you think it's unappetizing. It is different. I think it's different and it requires a different maybe palate or just being open-minded too.
Yeah.
I noticed that the state of mind in which you go about food in general, not only raw foods, but just in general, can really affect how you perceive that food.
For sure.
And I think I see that with a lot of people that are against vegan food and they just block themselves immediately like, oh, it's vegan without tasting it, without trying. They're just so against it. And it's a mental block. There's something there that they could be working through.
Yeah. Why do you think they have that mental block?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
A lot of people mock people for eating a certain way, or maybe because it's different, or maybe cultural. You know, I see it with my family. I'm from the south of Brazil, and we barbecue a lot. So a typical meal will be just meat on the grill. Yeah, that's it. And it's interesting, you know. They hold on to their to just the whole cultural habit, and they are afraid of missing that because they think that if they eat something different, they're going away from it. And it doesn't mean that you can't have both, or you can't have one in moderation or the other. Right. But I see a lot of resistance, and sometimes I wonder too if people they have they know that they could be doing better, and they have the need to mock it because that eases, it comforts them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you're saying oftentimes it's because they've used to a certain way, and then introducing a new way of doing certain things is just too much to take. Like they're not used to, let's say, I don't know, what would be a good example? Well, maybe a good example would be my mom visiting from Belarus and living here. There's so many things that she needs to adjust to, and she finds it really challenging, even though she's a lot more adjustable than anyone that she met of her age from Belarus. So she's adjustable, but even then, it's still like a lot of the things are shocking to her, like the way, and it's kind of similar, I guess, to food.
Yeah, we're emotionally attached to food, and I think we have so many memories in, childhood, and you can see a lot of people get sick and they want to eat certain things because it reminds them of something. It's just comfort, right? But I think we can change those things too, and we adapt so easily if we choose to. I can tell because I've gone through it, and it was a choice. It wasn't always easy, but it was a choice. And I think our mindset around it really matters. If you keep on focusing on the things that you are losing, quote, losing, right, you're gonna focus on that. You're gonna feel deprived. But if you are focusing on trying something new because you might gain something, then you're gonna go into it with a different energy and excitement, and that's your guideline,
For sure. for sure. Okay, we have 4 more.
Okay.
All right. Next one. Raw food is always... Oh, yeah, sorry. You have to be a foodie or a chef to enjoy raw vegan food. Is that true? And how can beginner get started?
It's not true.
Okay.
When I first went raw, mind you, I never cooked.
Okay.
I think this could be an important piece.
Yeah.
I grew up in a restaurant and I never cooked. And then I went raw. I was 20 years old and I didn't really know how to cook.
Mm-hmm.
But I had all these cookbooks and willpower and I just started testing recipes.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that making raw food is way easier than cooked food because I couldn't burn the house or burn myself or just blending and processing and chopping.
Mm-hmm.
It can take a lot of time and effort if you don't know what you're doing, but you can also eat very simple.
Right.
There's a lot of people in the raw food diet or in the raw food world that eat mostly fruits, for example, or lots of salads, large salads. Very simple. You don't need to complicate it. Just like with cooked foods.
Yeah.
You can eat simple foods. You can eat the same thing over and over. Find the recipes that you like and recreate them and repeat them until you get good and it's easy. I always, I like teaching classes. And when I used to teach my classes, I always try to do my best to simplify recipes.
Yeah.
Because when I went raw, I had a hard time with some books and the list of ingredients was endless or the preparation time was too long and it didn't excite me. It was scary. So I always tried to simplify it and how can we make it easy for people? And nowadays too, I went raw in 2008. You couldn't buy certain things and now you can find a lot of items on the store.
Yeah. I was growing up in Belarus. Definitely there was no people around who are, even now I feel like raw vegan is a luxury that you can only afford in areas with access to variety of options, especially during seasons where vegetables don't grow outside when it's cold and snowy and stuff. Do you think that's being raw vegan or vegan is a way to go, and no matter where you are, especially if you want to just eat local all the time and not ship stuff from other parts of the world,
Then that might be tough because we do have food deserts. I have never experienced that reality. Where I'm from in Brazil, we grow everything. It's beautiful. So yeah, perhaps it might be very challenging for some people. It might not be doable for everyone. It's important to eat fresh foods, but I don't think vegan falls under that category because you can still eat vegan and eat processed foods or frozen or rice and beans. It's affordable and in the store and you can find it anywhere or most places.
Makes sense,
I would say. Yeah, so I think raw vegan is a very different category than just vegan.
Vegan, yeah, makes sense, yeah. Okay, raw veganism is all about deprivation. That's a myth. How do you approach it from a place of abundance and joy?
So for me, the joy is just feeling good in my body. I think a lot of people tend to numb themselves with food or just eat for convenience, eat whatever's in front of them, and we become so detached from our bodies. So I shared before that I felt more in tune with my own body when I started eating raw foods. I also feel like it's almost impossible to overeat broccoli or lettuce or mangoes.
Because you want to naturally stop when you're full, right?
Yeah. You get full, which is not the case with ultra-processed foods. And they are so calorically dense. They have a lot of fat and sugar and salt, and it just works on your brain that you want more.
Right.
And I don't think natural foods are like that. So you don't end up overeating. So I don't think it's deprivation because you can eat in abundance and not have to worry as much.
Maybe what it's meant is the variety of you can't really fry and cook and variety of things that you can do with cooked food. You're eating very simply and what might be considered as deprived.
For sure. I think it's just different. And again, it's the mindset in which you go about it. I was really curious and I went to raw vegan culinary school and it was fascinating. All of the processes that you can do, you can sprout, ferment, dehydrate, and you can create so many things.
Yeah.
It's different, and I understand that. I understand that for a normal human who's not willing to try something different, or it might not be for everybody because it is a lot.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy cooked meals and I do enjoy the textures and the comfort. I find it more grounding. But I noticed too that for myself, the more raw foods I eat, the more raw foods I want to eat. I find myself feeling very energized and alive. I can't explain. Just my body wants more of it, and it's interesting to pay attention.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just noticing, how I feel and what works for me, and I think everybody is somewhat like that.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah. What is your typical weekly diet? What do you eat yourself? What's your first, second, whatever? Just tell me what you typically eat for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner.
Sure. For breakfast, I enjoy eating either a smoothie, a chia pudding. I'll make an acai bowl.
Okay.
Sometimes if I want something savory, I'll eat a salad or a tofu scramble, which is something that I recently started eating just for variety. Because again, it's not raw, right? So I'm eating tofu. Sure. I always have a large salad, and then
for lunch.
For lunch or for dinner. It depends on, because I work in the kitchen. Sometimes I find myself being very lazy to go back to the kitchen and make more food. But lately I enjoy simplicity. When I first went raw, I needed gourmet raw vegan meals. I wanted to try, I wanted the textures. I wanted what was missing from cooked foods, right? Or I was used to. And now I enjoy simplicity. So sometimes I'll just make a stir fry and I'll eat that with quinoa. I'll make some noodles. I like eating either chickpea or lentil pasta or some rice noodles with a lot of veggies, or just a salad. I eat a lot of salad.
When does dessert come in after?
Oh, anytime. Sometimes dessert might come in for breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm sure you have a whole freezer full of desserts because that's what you serve. Yeah. It's easy for you to just
it is
dessert
easy.
here and there.
I don't crave sugar, which is amazing. I always had a sweet tooth growing up, and I always struggled to not overeat desserts because if I would eat one, I wanted more. I couldn't open a chocolate bar and eat a slice. I had to just eat the whole thing, and I was always like that.
Yeah.
And then I think it was 2015 or so, I started, I read a book about the microbiome, and I followed the protocol to just improve my gut health. And ever since, I never really craved desserts, which was pretty awesome.
Oh, very cool. What's the name of the book?
The Microbiome Diet, Raphael Kelman.
Cool.
I recommend that book to everybody. It's not vegan, it's not raw. It's just
science.
It's just science, and it's a doctor that heals people from different things. There's a lot of doctors that talk about mental health, anxiety, depression being linked to gut health. And sometimes you can just work on the gut and then improve your emotional symptoms, which is incredible. So I decided to do that book at the time. I think I had a rash that I couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah.
So, and skin issues can also show up from the gut. So I decided to I only followed for 2 weeks. It was very easy. You cut out some foods, you introduce a lot of probiotic-rich foods, and eat very simple. And after that, I never craved desserts. And that was the reason why I got into raw foods. When I fell in love with it, I was just very passionate about the desserts. You kidding me that I now can make healthy desserts and I can eat a lot of desserts?
Yeah.
So that was the main thing that pulled me into it. And obviously I still love it and I still enjoy desserts. But it comes from a place of, just wanting it versus needing it or craving it.
So, it's a known fact that processed sugars are really bad for you. What about like natural sugars from fruits and stuff? Can you overeat them? Is there a point, like those types of sugars are also probably bad for you in, I don't know, moderation? Maybe it's good. So tell me more.
There's different trains of thought within the world of raw foods on this, because there are the people that eat a high fruit diet, and then they will eat low fat. So most people that eat high fruit, they eat low fat. Obviously, fruit is different from you fruit is different for you because it comes with other nutrients and fiber, and your body needs to break down. So you're not just ingesting plain sugar. I believe that we should eat not fruits, but I feel like I use maple syrup, coconut sugar. We should still eat those in moderation. I think it affects everyone differently. A lot of people are now obsessed with tracking their glucose levels. I don't know how good or bad that is for you, or if tracking puts you in a state of just over worrying about it. I also believe that the state in which you eat your foods really matter. If you go into a meal and you're stressed about it and you are nervous and you are just believing that that's going to be bad for you, I think that that's going to impact how you're going to feel about it.
That makes sense.
Obviously not to say like, oh, just be happy and eat chocolate cake all day long. That's not what I'm saying. But I think the over worrying about it, and that's where I had found myself when I was eating raw foods mostly. And perhaps other people don't worry about it. They eat raw foods and they love it and they feel good. I know a lot of people that have healed themselves. So obviously they're grateful for the way they eat. Eating like that is a treat because it allowed for their bodies to heal. Thankfully, I never had any health issues. So it wasn't my drive. It was just the way I felt. But I think over worrying about it isn't healthy either.
For sure. Why do people usually start a raw vegan diet? Like, what's the more common reasons?
Health.
Like they feel like they're overweight, or they some other conditions. Like what are the most common conditions, I guess?
I think a lot of people have just inflammation, a lot of inflammation in their bodies, maybe cancer, maybe diabetes. There's different, my mom, it was depression. So they just want to cleanse and detox. And I think, raw vegan foods are the way nature gives us, it couldn't be cleaner in a way. So I think eating as fresh as possible, as clean as possible, it allows your body to kind of reset.
How do you go about getting the highest quality produce for yourself? Like, what's your process? What are your sources?
Here I go to the store and I try to buy as organic as possible. And obviously it's hard to know whether or not that is truly organic or what they spray in and even in the store, When I lived in Brazil, we had farmers markets all over, and I love that. I love being able to get it straight from the source, and it's helping also local farmers. And I think we want to promote them, and we want to get them to continue, growing organic food. It's not heavily sprayed.
So you mentioned about organic. You don't really know how organic that is. Could it be that it says organic, but it really is not?
I know that sometimes they spray things at the store too.
Okay.
Or I just wonder.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you felt maybe in your own experience, like, oh, you got organic and it doesn't taste organic, or it doesn't taste natural, it doesn't taste like anything? Like, for example, you buy organic cucumbers and sometimes I taste them, it's like, oh, it doesn't taste like anything, Yeah.
It's also weird. Sometimes you see organic strawberries and they're like huge, and from my experience, they're usually smaller, and so it makes me question. I mean, I don't want to be skeptical about anything, I am already, but I don't want to be overly skeptical about things.
Right.
So I still buy organic as much as I can. as much as I can find. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to promote that industry as well.
For sure.
I think it's really bad for our soil, for the water, for the people who are spraying things. I mean, if you have to wear suits to spray it, how good could it be for us?
For sure. Yeah, exactly. So I have two more actually here. All vegan food is healthy. What would you say?
Oh, hell no. Oreos are vegan. I don't even know what's in an Oreo. Honestly, I don't remember the last time I ate an Oreo. But I think you can still have overly processed foods that are, labeled vegan, but not necessarily healthy. And it became trendy. I think veganism became more trendy, and there are more brands making food for us, which is incredible in a way. But then there's the other side that, if you're not eating enough fresh food, whole foods, really.
Whole foods, yeah.
And in my opinion, this goes for everything. If you're vegan or if you're not vegan, everybody should be eating whole foods. Everybody needs to be eating more fruits and vegetables.
That's right. Yeah. Not go to Whole Foods to buy your stuff, but just eat the...
Correct. Like natural foods.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I think that's important. So if we're still eating processed, it doesn't matter if it's vegan or not. You're eating processed foods.
How can you teach someone how to make a good decision when choosing food to say, oh, vegan must be healthy, but it's not? How do you, what's some advice you can give people to make better decisions?
I think it's important to read the ingredients on the labels because, for example, peanut butter even, you can just go to the store natural peanut butter, and then you turn around and it's sugar and oil and whatever. Why? Peanut butter should be just peanuts.
Peanuts, right?
So there's a lot of marketing that's very deceiving for you.
Sure.
Or you go and get potato chips. It's organic, and then people think it's healthy, but it's still fried potato chips with whatever ingredients in it. They're not great for you.
With organic canola oil, I think.
Yeah, so I saw a candy bar, organic candy bar.
Yeah.
It's still a candy bar, and you read the ingredients, it's a whole bunch of crap. Right. So just because it's organic, again, it became trendy, and it's a catchphrase for people to think it's healthier. Yeah. But I think we should be reading the ingredients.
Would you say that a general rule, the less ingredients, the better, generally speaking? That's one way. Sure. Or the more recognizable the ingredients are, the better?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you're readers, I have no idea what those are. Yeah.
Do I put...
Doesn't sound like fruit. Yeah, I know. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So I think one more here. Raw vegan diet is only for hippies. What would you say?
I don't know. Am I a hippie?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen all kinds of people. And I've seen non-hippies eat a raw vegan diet too. Yep. I don't think so.
What's your definition of a hippie, by the way? I don't know. How do you?
That's a good one. I don't know. I feel like there's different levels.
What are prerequisites in your mind for someone to be hippie? Not shower for a month.
Maybe, right?
Yeah. If you're clean, you're not a true hippie, probably.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you wearing tie-dye?
Okay. Yeah. Is it anything to do with their ideology? What do they believe? Could you be a hippie believing in whatever? You think?
I think maybe my definition of hippies would be that they are more in tune or more connected to nature and source.
Okay.
God, or whatever you want to label it.
Yeah.
Maybe. And not wanting to comply with our modern society rules, perhaps.
Yeah, they kind of want to live outside of the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to be told what to do.
Yeah. Be freer, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
They want to live freer. I guess that would be my definition.
Yeah, hippies are interesting. Yeah, I mean, we have some in the community. There are definitely some hippies there.
But there's different levels, right?
Yeah.
There's different levels of...
Yeah, it's how far are they away from being in the system the furthest ones we don't even see in the system. They're like somewhere in the woods, doing heavy things. Yeah.
I mean, I don't blame them,
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if it would be fun to just go off grid.
Yeah. I think it's actually moving towards a future in which we live further away from cities, because the whole need for us to be in cities is to have jobs, mainly, like to make money and to be able to provide for the family. And then now AI can take away most of the jobs, that the jobs that would define as jobs today. But maybe in the future there will be things to do that will be like new jobs that we didn't even think that's a possibility to be a job. Like you're picking your nose all day and you're getting paid or something. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I'm sure there are people that are get paid for that.
Yeah. Or picking something else.
I mean, it's evolving so rapidly, right?
Yeah.
When I think about me being a child and I had dialed up internet.
Yeah.
How far it's come, I feel, and it's not that long.
What's your relationship now with technology? How much or how little do you use it?
So I mean, we're always on our phones. I'm on my phone way too much.
Okay.
I don't love it. I mean, obviously, I love having access to, my family who's in Brazil or in the other side of the country, and being able to talk to friends. I use technology, obviously, but I do notice that my nervous system really appreciates being away from it. I did Vipassana, 10-day Vipassana in October, and it was such a beautiful nervous system reset. And I feel like I came back a much calmer person. And I had no idea what to expect, but I feel like I still feel the effects of it. And it was so incredible. So I noticed that the days that I can, stay away from my phone, for example, I feel much better.
Yeah. I started paying attention to dopamine levels. I mean, I'm not measuring them, but I know that, let's say, being on social media and consuming micro content, the dopamine releasing content is draining your dopamine, and you need dopamine to do anything. Let's say if you're drained with dopamine, you have no motivation to do anything. It's hard to focus on things. So try not to use mainly specifically visual social media that is very visually stimulating, because at the beginning, in most part of the day, I don't use it. I would only open it at the end of the day, where a few hours before going to sleep, I don't really care anymore to stay productive or focused. I'm just winding down, and I've started allowing myself to only use it there. But early in the day, I've noticed that if I use it for 30 minutes, my productivity just plummets, and I don't really, it's hard for me to focus, or I don't feel as good. Yeah.
I'm going to pay attention to that. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb. It goes automatically onto sleep mode and Do Not Disturb from 10 to 10.
Okay. Yeah.
And I can only use my Instagram if I allow, you have to allow for 15 minutes. Obviously, that happens more often than I would like to admit. But I try to stay away from it in the morning, especially. But I'm going to pay attention if I'm also less focused. I know that it's crazy how often I check my phone. I catch myself just looking to see if there's a notification.
Of course. Because that's dopamine too, right? Any notification is oftentimes related to other people caring about us, and there's somebody's messaging us oh, this person and that person remember about me.
Yeah.
But it's a total hijack.
For sure. Yeah. And I don't feel rested. There are moments in time, I don't know, maybe throughout the day, I want to rest, take a break from whatever I'm doing. And then I sit and then I get my phone and I don't feel rested. And when I realize 20 minutes have passed and I don't feel like I relaxed, I don't feel more creative. Yeah. I don't feel...
And frankly speaking, we usually feel worse after doing that. It's not like you don't feel better. You usually feel worse because you feel like you just wasted your time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I get a lot of clients from Instagram, and I don't love it. I don't have a personal Instagram account. I just do it for the business, and it's plenty. It's more than enough. and I get a lot of messages, and it's hard because I have to be on it, but it's
Maybe it'll be a good thing, you know, that now they're coming out with like avatars, even built into social media. I haven't really used that, but I wonder if you can like train your own avatar to reply to all of your messages on your behalf, and then all you do is just meeting people in person whenever possible, and you interacting with those. You're dedicating your own time only for those who are right in your presence, and everyone else is being talked to. It would probably most likely be their agent or their avatar is talking to your avatar, and then when things are aligning, then your avatars arrange a physical or a real-time communication where you get to actually enjoy them in person or even on Zoom or FaceTime or something. That's still,
I'm sure that wouldn't be hard.
Maybe that's a good place for us to kind of start wrapping up. Maybe mention any like advice or a thing that you want people to take away from this conversation. Share any thoughts that you think are important to share in this format.
I would love for people to take better care of their bodies, but because they love their bodies, not because they hate it. I think that was the beginning for me. I hated my body, and that's why I wanted to change it. And that was my motivation. But I realized that it's my house. It's my home. It's the only place I have to live. I can't move. So I would love for people to be more conscientious about what they put in their bodies. It doesn't mean that you need to go raw and vegan, but just, being more mindful. And I think food is not the only way of caring for yourself, but what you listen to, what you watch, the thoughts that you have. So just caring for yourself, I think it's so important. And I think it makes for happier humans in general that would be kinder to others.
Amazing. Yeah. And then if people would like to work with you in one way or the other, what would be the easiest way?
Well, you can reach out to me on Instagram.
Okay. All right. What can you help people with?
Well, I teach classes. I do a meal delivery service weekly. So if you don't want to cook or make raw foods, I can deliver it to your door.
Okay. And maybe tell a little bit more. How does that work? You like send a menu, or like how does that work?
Yeah. So I have a WhatsApp group, or I post it on Instagram. So I close orders every Thursday for people to get their food on Sundays. And I have a driver that delivers to them. This is just in South Florida. So from Miami to about Boca. That's what I cover. And I also make desserts.
Amazing, by the way. It's the best desserts, period. Not just the raw vegan desserts, but actual, like any desserts that I've tried. They're amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. I love making desserts. I think that's where I shine. Honestly, I love it. It's so fun.
Yeah, whoever is still watching or listening, you gotta definitely try them. Where can they find them, by the way?
In Miami, they can find it at Plantisserie and Love Life Cafe.
Perfect.
Those are the two main places that you can get a large variety of my desserts.
You also ship, right? You could also or deliver them?
Yeah, I deliver. I do local delivery. I've tried shipping and it's been too stressful, so I don't want to do that at the moment.
Makes sense. Cool. Anything else? Is that it?
No, I think that's it.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you,
Thank
Carla.
you.
Yeah, it was great.
You having me here.
Thank you, listeners, for sticking around all the way to the end, at least those who has. And I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.